Hey everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity, and I've got a fun little interview for you this time. Not a celebrity as we might define celebrities as being, but this gentleman, his stage name is Johnny, and he's the drummer for a, I'll just call it a rock and roll revival band called the Dreamboats, as you might have guessed behind me here. But they do a great tribute to early 60s rock and roll. And if you go out and look at their videos on YouTube and such, they just do a tremendous job. Their sweet spot, their wheelhouse, if you will, is in the early to mid 60s. And they are getting quite the following building up. They are originally from Canada and are now just outside of the Palm Springs area of California. And had a great little chat with their drummer Johnny, as I just said, about what the band is all about. Now, I normally don't do a lot in the way of tribute artists and that kind of thing. Occasionally, as you recall, I've interviewed Elvis tribute artists and people that, Australian Pink Floyd many years ago, still one of the great tribute bands out there that do it note perfect. And there's a lot of others out there. Black Jacket Symphony is another. And I like covering them when they really do what they do extremely well. So cover bands, don't call me or email me about covering you. I don't care how well you do Margaritaville. That's not what I'm after here. But these guys, the Dreamboats, they really do a great deal. Now, I want to go back to what I just said. Cover bands, I love you. I love seeing you wherever I can see you, near wherever I am at. So I'm not dissing you. It's just that that's not what Boomerocity is about here as far as interviews go. I love what you do. I don't hate you. Please don't hate me. But check out the Dreamboats. Their websites are going to be on this webpage. And check them out. If they're going to be playing near you, get tickets. Go see them. Tell them Boomerocity sent you. And as always, while you're watching this, if you wouldn't mind hitting like and subscribe, it won't cost you a dime, but it sure helps Boomerocity out a lot. So without any further ado, here is the Boomerocity interview with Johnny the drummer with a band called the Dreamboats. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Randy.
Hello, Johnny. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'd do better if Zoom wasn't being a pain in my butt, to put it
Okay.
bluntly.
I was like,
I
I hope that was in the right room.
you
Okay,
you
perfect.
were. Here's the thing. I mean, I'm sure you've worked a lot with Zoom too, but I go into my dashboard, I click on the start button, screen opens up, I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I see a Zoom email saying you're waiting for me to join. I'm thinking, well, that's weird because I'm already in the room. So I quit out of where I'm at. I click on the link it sends me, which should have been the same one I was in, and that's how I got into you. So I sent Heidi a note. I'm sure
Okay.
she's probably got her hair on fire now, and all because of Zoom. So
Nice.
I'm actually looking at other platforms now because they've caused me a lot of problems lately. Where are you
Nice.
clicking in from?
I'm currently in Desert Hot Springs, California, which is
Oh
right
boy.
near Palm Springs. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you?
I'm actually today I'm in Anderson, South Carolina, nursing a broken foot.
Ooh.
I'm often, most of the time, I'm in the Smoky Mountains, but I'm recently remarried. My wife has a home here in Anderson. I have my place in Sevierville, and so we just bounce back and forth.
Awesome.
As much bouncing as a broken foot will let me do this week. So
Sure, sure.
anyway, but well,
Great.
listen, I'm really looking forward to chatting with you about the Dreamboats. It's
Thanks for having me.
well, my
Yeah.
pleasure. My pleasure. So, I guess the main thing is you guys are obviously younger than the group of people that wrote the music that you guys perform. Ha- Yeah, how would you describe the band? Because to call you an oldies band would probably miss the biggest point of what you guys are actually doing. How would you
Yeah.
guys describe the Dreamboats?
Huh. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, we're technically a cover band, but I mean, we're playing covers, but we kind of treat it more like an original band, you know.
Hmm.
We always just say we're a 50s and 60s rock and roll band. That's kind of what we tell people. You know, that seems to be the term that translates. Yeah, I know what you mean. The oldies, we don't, yeah, typically throw around a 50s, 60s rock band.
Why
What are your
not?
thoughts? Do you have a
Well, I
term?
mean, used to after Elvis died, we heard about Elvis impersonators.
Yeah,
Now they're tribute artists, and I think that's a better term for most of them
yeah.
because they really pay tribute to Elvis. Which, by the way, I'm so old. Elvis was my first concert.
Oh, nice,
So that there you go, and it wasn't too far. Well, a day's drive from where you're at now. I grew up in Phoenix, so
nice.
so anyway, they yeah, but today I think there's so many groups, and especially the legacy acts that are slowly but surely dying off or
Yeah,
retiring for whatever reason. That there are people that still want to do and pay homage to those bands. And so I think tribute works. But because you guys carry or cover so many different artists, I don't know. Maybe there should be a genre tribute artist. So,
sure.
but
We
you know,
we used to say retro rock and roll, but then that could mean a lot of things, you know. So we just say we do 50s, 60s rock and roll, and that's narrowed it down for people.
yeah. So that makes sense, and I think it holds water for everybody concerned. And
Cool.
I don't know about on your side, but I see my frame freezing a lot. But I think it's still recording on both sides, so we'll just keep going on this. It's
Cool.
typical of Zoom lately.
Cool.
What is it about this era of rock and roll that has grabbed each of you to want to say, "Hey, let's get together and let's do this"?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it came about very naturally. You know, we all played in different bands in our hometown of Mississauga, and then we all got together one day to jam. This was in 2009, and the only songs that we all knew how to collectively play, genuinely, were early rock and roll tunes. So like Johnny Be Good and Twist and Shout and La Bamba and what else? I mean, we were just playing all that stuff because in
Mm-hmm.
some weird way we grew up with that because of our parents having grown up in that era. And also in the 90s there were all of these nostalgia movies that came out, movies like La Bamba, Back to the Future,
Mm-hmm.
That Thing You Do, Great Balls of Fire. Like there were so many of these, so we grew up with these like iconic 90s movies that had all this music in it. So like somewhere it was dormant, this music. And then when we got together, we realized we all shared this commonality of knowing these songs and knowing how to play them. So it came about very naturally, but that was in 2009. That was a long time ago. Yeah.
Well, you said Mississauga just has nothing to do with this interview, but I used to work for the late great Nortel, so right there
Oh,
in Mississauga, we had a big presence there. So
nice. North, of course. Yeah.
yeah, I
You
miss
know
them
Mississauga. Yeah.
a little bit. I have been up to Brampton, Ontario, all that, for meetings and run
Yeah.
around.
Nice. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I've been to ate at Ruth Chris in downtown Toronto. That was fun.
Yeah,
On the expensive count, of course. It may have been why they went bankrupt. I don't know.
that's great. That's awesome.
But so I'm curious. I don't have this written down, but as you were describing all that and how this music appeals to you guys, what is it about our music? I'll put it that way. That makes that's a bigger appeal to you, or at least it seems to be, than the music that's closer to your generation.
Honestly, the thing is, this music, like 50s and 60s rock and roll, is kind of the bedrock. It's the foundation of all modern music, most popular modern music. So it's like
Hmm.
these songs have elements that you've heard elsewhere, you've heard in later years, but they all came from this era. Like the beats, the
Hmm.
rhythms, the melodies, the chord progressions, they all kind of start here. So this music's very timeless. And that's what we've noticed. Like when we play this live, it's like people are like, "Oh yeah," even younger kids who might not know the songs, there's just a familiarity with it that they almost can't really put their finger on, but they're like, "Yeah, I've kind of heard this melody before or something." They're getting something out of it. But it's very timeless music. And then secondly, I personally think that it is beautifully written music. It's the songs were short, they were succinct, they were catchy. You're in and you're out. Like you take a band like the Beatles, they were masters of that. And it's like they would have
Hmm.
a great intro, great verse, cool, awesome, memorable chorus, a great bridge, and then they would never lose an opportunity to go out with a great ending, you know? So it
Hmm.
was just like the perfect formula for a song. And finally, when they would perform these songs, it was like there were performers, like guys like Elvis, and like you had so many groups that were like putting on a show when they would play, and in its most raw form. So that's another thing that I love about this era, and something we try to recreate with the Dreamboats at our shows.
What do you think it is, or what do you hear in those records that still sounds exciting to you? I know for me, I could be driving down the road. I'll have Sirius XM on
Nice,
one of many of my presets, and a song will come on, and instantly, I'm flashing back to high school in Phoenix, or
yeah,
when my daughter was born, or my first kiss, or whatever.
nice,
So for me, because that's the soundtrack of my youth, I can see why that still excites me today, because there's those emotional bonds that the music has created up here and in our hearts.
sure,
But that's decades ago.
yeah,
Compare, my 50-year class reunion will be next year, so it's a long time. You
nice.
weren't even a thought then.
No.
So, but for you,
Yeah.
what still makes that music sound exciting for you?
This music to me, first of all, I don't know where it came from, but I always loved that era, like the 50s and early 60s. I don't know where that came from. It may have been because of these movies I was talking about. It may have been because of my parents looking through old photo albums. I don't know. But when I turn on these tracks and I listen to them, I feel like it's kind of the closest thing I might get to like a time machine where I hear this, you're listening to these iconic recordings, and it was people like in a room all together, hitting record and like recording together as a band.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's like this little timestamp of hearing what these artists sounded like. And now with modern recording, you get people recording in different studios, different times of the day, and you know, there's a lot of that, but these recordings are raw, they're real, and I feel like I'm getting transported to this era, like an era that I've always been really fascinated with. So it really hits like when I hear a recording, you hear that crackle or something, a squeaky bass drum or something. I'm like, oh, it just I get a warm feeling inside. So I have a really deep connection with this music. And so much so that I think people think I'm crazy, but I'm always listening to oldies like in my car. And people are like, "You don't listen to new music?" I listen to some, but I'm genuinely always listening to oldies music. What's a new song the Dreamboats can do? Oh, this song is great. Oh, I forgot about this song, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I really love it, genuinely. I love your
Do,
era of music.
do, do you think, or for your generation, that what have you learned as musicians from really digging into those early records?
I mean, you learn a lot by playing these songs all the time. You're seeing commonalities, common formulas, common song lengths. You just get an idea of chord progressions. Like people are kind of following a formula, and then certain artists will break out of it for a little bit. Yeah, you start to see some patterns by playing these songs a lot. What I will say is that we've had a few little lineup changes over the span of 15 years. And when you're auditioning someone new, I think they come into this music thinking it's easy. They're like, "Oh, it's rock and roll, it's easy, it's easy." And you'd be surprised, like some of these songs, they're simple, but they're not. They're intricate in their things. Like you take a song like Pretty Woman by like Roy Orbison. It's like that's a great lick, great chord changes. You know what I mean? That was like very iconic for its time. Like
Mm-hmm.
to hear a song like that we know like the back of our hands, but like that, imagine hearing that song for the first time. Like that would have sounded very different. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but like
Nope.
these are
Nope.
great. You're the first people to kind of do this, It's I can't imagine what that was like, you know?
One of my first interviews was with Sam Andrew of Big Brother and the Holding Company,
Okay.
and he's passed away now, but he told me we were actually meeting at a patio at a restaurant that had closed for the evening, and we're sitting across the table from each other. Still have the audio of this, but he
Nice.
told me, he goes, Randy, keep in mind, in essence, he said, keep in mind when we were out there writing this music, he said, no one else had done it. There wasn't a Mel Bay book we could go buy to teach us the guitar riffs or anything.
Yeah.
We were inventing this, and now you have schools that crank out graduates, 500 graduates a year that can do Hendrix as well as Hendrix.
Yeah.
So he goes, that's the big difference. We were inventing it, we were creating it, and now people are following it, studying it, mimicking it, whatever you want to call it. But to your point, and you kind of touched on this already. Do you think younger musicians sometimes underestimate just how good those early musicians and singers really were back then?
Oh, totally, totally. And once again, it wasn't even that they were groundbreaking. Like you take a guy like Chuck Berry, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
iconic guitar player, iconic style of playing guitar. He had all the double stops and doing that. So you had that, but then you also had this like once again this confidence of actually performing these songs. Like these guys were getting up there, Chuck Berry doing the duck walk, Little Richard like getting crazy on the piano, Jerry Lee Lewis lighting that thing on fire and playing with you know what I mean? Like there was always a show aspect to a lot of these stars. You didn't have people just kind of doing the shoegaze thing. There was
Mm-hmm.
some
Mm-hmm.
people did, but for the most part, like people really took pride in that, and I think that's something that a lot of people can learn from this. And also, I noticed I'm going to segue here. I noticed that you had Dion on your on your
A
podcast.
couple
Couple
times,
times?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I saw one of the interviews, and I'm a
Mm-hmm.
huge fan of Dion's. And if you look at the early footage of Dion and the Belmonts, like he's moving. He's the star. He's like
Mm-hmm.
truly like you're like, oh, he's got talent. And it's just like, oh, he's just singing, but he's not. Like there's an energy that he's bringing to the stage in those old videos and even now. And even now,
Yeah.
he's a star for life. But I think that's something that a lot of people they'll look at these old guitar players will be like, oh, there's a bad note there, a bad note there. I'm like, it wasn't about perfection. It was about like the music was different. It was about more than that. It was connecting with the youth, and it was the
Mm-hmm.
counter like to all the previous music. And I don't know where I'm going with this, Randy. It's a beautiful era of music that we're trying to keep alive. We're trying to expose people to what was so special about this music. It's easy for the baby boomer generation to understand what we do, and they do come out to our shows. That's a large percentage of the crowd that comes to our shows. But
Mm-hmm.
you're starting to see younger people coming in, and they're taking an interest to this, and we're trying to like carry the torch. We're trying to keep this music and the essence of the whole package alive, especially as these artists die off,
Yeah.
sadly.
Do
Especially, yeah.
you do you find among your peers, like I'll interview a lot of blues artists, for instance,
Sure.
and when I've had the privilege of talking to some of the older ones. A couple have passed away since then, but you have the newer artists coming up, and you get this rare group that really just dig into the music, and they just want to consume everything they can find on. They live, eat, and breathe it. They're playing all the time. They're doing the digital equivalent of what like Keith Richards used to do and take the needle off the record player and bring it back so he could replay that riff and
Yeah.
wear out the grooves on the vinyl. Um, a two-part question: do you find that your peers that have an interest in music, do you think they have that same kind of work ethic to dig into it, which obviously you guys dig in deep into there? And so the second part of the question is, how deeply do you guys drill into those classics before deciding that the Dreamboats are going to do something with that song? So it's a two
I
part thing
think
there.
Sure, sure. I think we're very fortunate that the people in our group really have a high attention to detail. We respect learning songs. We respect showing up to rehearsal like prepared. So if we are adding a new song to our show, it's a song that we all genuinely want to be playing. So it never feels like work or anything to learn a new song. But I think in regards to other artists, it really depends on the person. We've been doing this for a long time, and I think some people, yeah, really pride themselves on doing the song justice and actually performing it correctly and capturing the essence of what that person was doing, and other people don't. And that's one thing about the Dreamboats that we're just very proud of is that we kind of what we do is we learn the song, and then you cut to a year later, it's now been dreamboatsified where we're doing all of our antics, and it's just really taken on a mind of its own, and we have like our version of the song after that, which isn't
Mm-hmm.
far off. It's not like we're reinventing the wheel,
Right.
but it's usually a little faster, and it's got a little more oomph to it. We've
Mm-hmm.
slightly just brought it into a modern without it being modern. It's just got that energy to it, that and I think that helps translate to a bit of a younger crowd as well, while still keeping the memories with the older crowd. So I don't know, it seems to be a nice mix. But we have like in addition though to the music itself, it's like if you've seen any videos, anyone out there has seen videos, it's like it's a very high energy show.
Yeah.
That's like the big thing. Every song there are moments. Our whole goal is to try in every song we want to give people an opportunity to feel like they want to whip out their phone and film something that's going on
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole goal. So and it's been working, you know.
Obviously.
I
where
would
did the name Dreamboats come from? I have a hunch, I know, but go ahead.
I mean, look, we were looking for names. This was back in 2009. I had hair, like it was different time.
Yeah,
And this
well, don't
band
get me to talking there.
You look great. And we were just this was started as a passion project. So we were kind of joking around, what's the name gonna be? And we remember from Back to the Future, Lorraine is like, oh, isn't he a dreamboat? So we're like, oh, the dreamboats. And we're like, oh, that's so like whatever. And then it just cut to all these years later, we're the dreamboats and we all got our stage names and we wear the jackets and we love getting kind of shameless with the band and really kind of leaning into that era.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm. Well, you do it
so
great. What
thanks.
what's what's the litmus test that you guys have where you're talking, you're kicking some songs around, and all that, and what's the litmus test that where you guys go, yeah, we can do something with this one?
It's tough. We try not to do anything past 1965. So 1955 to
Hmm.
65. That's our era. Now, I love stuff after 1965. I think 65 to like 69 or even 70 is such a great era of music, but that's almost a different band. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
It gets
mm-hmm.
you get that little bit of psychedelic stuff in there, and the music just changed with all the
A
drugs.
little less innocent.
Exactly. So the Dreamboats has always kind of been, would this fit the suit? Would this fit a jukebox? Would this fit like that kind of culture as opposed to would this fit like Woodstock? That's like a different thing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the thing. And we all have to like the song, and get
Mm-hmm.
something out of it. That's kind of what we base it on. And yeah, nothing really more than that, I would say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, to answer our question earlier about whether it's tribute act or to me cover bands, I would never want to hang that title on you guys because how many of us have walked into some place where there's a cover band and we're going, really? I wouldn't have
Yeah.
known the song if you hadn't announced it. But
Yeah.
and it's my favorite song. But your publicist Heidi, she said indicated that it's not just a nostalgia act. It's a raw and real, in her words, rock and roll revival. So maybe you
Yeah.
guys are rock and roll evangelists. That's it. That could work.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. We're trying to be the custodians of this music as, as the generations that created this kind of pass on. We're trying to keep this alive, carry the torch.
Mm-hmm.
And also
Mm-hmm.
another thing though, Randy, is that we've been fortunate enough to have met people as you've interviewed too. We've met people from that era who were performers and well respected, and they've given us the nod and they've told us what they really like about the show, what we've been truly nailing. Someone who is very close to the band, and I don't know if people in the States fully know the importance of this person. He was a man by the name of Ronnie Hawkins. Does that mean
Mm-hmm.
anything to you?
Yeah, yeah, he was a beside. If I'm thinking of the right one, he was somebody who was kind of a behind the scenes, kind of a not an image maker, but an image, probably somewhere in that. If I'm thinking of the same one as you are.
Well, Ronnie Hawkins is originally from Arkansas, and he moved to Canada, and he formed the band, with Robbie Robertson
That's
leading.
okay. All right. Yeah, I was thinking of someone else, but yeah, there you go.
So Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks, that was the precursor to the
Mm-hmm.
band. And
The band.
Ronnie, because he was from Arkansas but lived in Canada, he brought rock and roll to Canada, like physically brought it from Arkansas. And long story short is that he became a big supporter of our band, which was a huge
Wow.
honor. Huge honor. So we'd spent a lot of time with Ronnie. He would come to our shows, and I remember he would tell us, boys, you guys are most. I haven't seen a band as exciting as you since the Beatles. And he'd be like, you boys play these songs better than the originals. He's like, and I knew all the originals. Like he would tell us stories of Johnny Cash when he was a car salesman. He told us a story about Carl Perkins and like so many things. Jerry Lee Lewis, how he almost fired a gun at some people after the show. Like so
Mm-hmm.
these people are kind of like giving us the nod, and they're saying what we're doing is good for keeping this music alive. We were also very close with a guy named Chan Romero. He wrote the Hippie Hippie Shake, the first recorded version of it. He wrote it. We performed that song with him on 5 different occasions. We're close with the
Wow.
family. Yeah. So, there's been different people along the way who we've met to varying degrees of importance, and they all really support what we do. And that means a lot for us. That means like we feel like, okay, we're doing something right here. If these original people are telling us, our show is exciting, like how it should be.
What's the most that I'm getting ahead of myself here, but what's the most touching story you have had from a fan or from a former performer? Much like what you just mentioned, but I know for me, when I first started Boomerocity, this is a good backdrop to
Sure.
maybe get an idea of where I'm coming from on the question. I went to see, and this was when I was still working in Dallas. I saw Davy Jones and David Cassidy
Yeah.
together in concert. And, the crowd coming in, they were my age. Back then, I would have been in my 50s. And, these women coming in, I mean, you could tell, they've had a lot of kids, they're grandparents now, all this stuff. They've maybe some of them have gained weight, some of them are disabled in some way, shape, or form. But it was almost as if when the show started, you've seen these TV shows where an old person all of a sudden melds back into what they were like when they were 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And in my mind, in my view, it seemed like these people were once again those teenage girls, you know, not quite Bobby Sox level, but back to that later '60s, like you were talking about, and they
Yeah.
had the Davy Jones or the Monkees posters or the David Cassidy posters, what have you, and they seemed to almost physically transform. So
Yeah.
with that as a backdrop to my question, what kind of have there been any touching stories that you have heard from people from my generation or from the performers from our generation?
I mean, yeah, like what you described right there happens on each show that we play. It's like we see that exact transformation. Someone was like, I haven't danced in years, and you see them in the aisles. Sometimes people have walkers or canes, and it's like they're
Mm-hmm.
getting up and dancing. So we see that every show, literally every show, that is a thing. But in terms of moments, it's like what's cool about this is that after the show, we always come out and meet people, even if we're not selling merch. We just come out, take pictures, and people always tell us these cool stories. So, like it never fails. Every now and then someone will come up to us and they start talking, we hear an accent, and you're like, okay, something's coming. It's either a Beatles story or like a thing. So we've met people who have gone to school. We met a guy in Canada who went to grammar school with Paul McCartney, and he told us this whole story. I met a
Wow.
woman who told us after the show that she was at one of the concerts during the Winter Dance Party tour with Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big
Mm-hmm.
Bopper. And then she emailed me later of pictures with them on that tour, on that fateful tour,
Wow.
which is so I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this. But
Yeah.
so we hear these cool stories, and even during the show, sometimes I'll ask people, I was like, has anyone here seen the Beatles? And people take such pride in that. I've realized, so there's this great connection that we get to experience, and we genuinely are curious about that stuff. So I love when people bring stories to me, but I do see that change every show. It's like people come out just feeling like they were young again, and that's a it's a selfishly it's a good feeling for us. We feel like once
Mm-hmm.
again we're doing something right. We're transporting people to that, and we're still being ourselves, though. You know what I mean? Like you're talking about the tribute stuff. It's like I'm not trying to be like Ringo or John Lennon or anyone like that, or Dion. It's like I'm Johnny of the Dreamboats, and we all have our personalities, and people can kind of fall in love with their favorite Dreamboat. So that's
Mm-hmm.
yet another layer of how we're taking this. And even to your question before, Randy, it's just like so many bands back in the days were cover bands. You didn't even call them that. It's like they were just a band and they were playing the popular songs that were
Mm-hmm.
out. The Beatles did it, Rolling Stones definitely did it. So it's just like it's the essence of that. That's why it's weird to call ourselves a tribute or a cover band. It's just like now we're just a band playing rock and roll tunes. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That's what it feels like, anyways.
And I think we're going to see more of that as my generation dies off. But there's just if it's done right, you can call it whatever you want as long as everybody's enjoying themselves on stage and in the seats.
Yes.
That's what I think. But you guys, you touched on this earlier about how you guys throw yourselves into it, and I think that's both harmonically as well as physically. So a two-part question again is how easy are the harmonies for you guys to hit? Because you guys do a very good job of nailing them. And then secondly, all the choreography, all the splits, all the handstands. You know, I'm old enough to see the bands I grew up with having knee surgeries. I won't name names, but they have
Sure.
had knee surgeries because they do flips on stage, and
Yeah.
they used to do flips on stage, things like that. And you go see
Yeah.
the legacy acts, and they move a lot slower. So I know that there is a price to pay on that over time. But so to recap the question, how how easy are the harmonies for you guys, and how taxing is it for the physical part of it to hit?
Yeah. I mean, the harmonies take time. They take time. It's not like we just come together and do it. It take like we learn the parts, but for it to really start gelling, like that takes a lot of time. You can practice as much as you want, in rehearsal, but really getting on stage, that's the true test. That's where you really start dialing things in. So the harmonies take time. We sit, we have to put that time in. The dance moves too, but it's like we all really, you have to stay in good shape in this band. There's no question. It's like we're doing the high kicks, we're doing our singers doing a handstand. It's like, we're very athletic people. We all grew up playing sports, so it naturally translated into that. But it's a workout. Like our suits are drenched by the end
I
of the show.
bet.
They're drenched. They're a different shade by the end of the show. And I think that's a good thing. People see us like up there like really sweating and working. But yeah, I don't know what that looks like in 20 years. I hope we can. It's the kind of thing where if you don't stop, then hopefully you don't lose it. But yeah, I mean, but at the same time, you got people like, in the Rolling Stones, like those guys are old and they're moving around. And you got even AC/DC, you got Angus Young. Okay, he's slowing down a little bit, rightfully so. But he's still up there, he's still rocking. And I mean, it's great to see. I can only hope that we're still able to do some high kicks, as long as we can.
To me, I know what it's like for me. Um, I, I might be going on a walk with my wife and we'll be talking and then it's like, all right, I got to quit talking so I can catch my breath. I
Sure.
can't imagine what it's like for you guys to do what you do. I mean, is there any part on there where you guys are, doing the duck walk or, jumping off the drum riser and you're sliding up to the microphone and then I mean, has it ever happened where you go, oh crap, I need to catch my breath, but I'm on now? You know?
Yeah, yeah, that would be more like our singer, our bass player. They are on that level, they're hopping around. It's a lot of this, it's the ultimate coordination because not only do you have to know your part, like it's got to be internalized. So it's on autopilot. Like that's the only way you can do this. Your part has to be on autopilot. Then you got to know your lyrics if you're singing, and we all sing lead at some point or another in the show. In addition to harmonies, we all sing lead. So you're playing your instrument, you're singing, and then oftentimes you're also doing some kind of groove. Now I'm on the drums, but I do a lot of the moves from the drums. I have my own thing going on back there, but it's like three things. You got to be doing a dance move, you got to be singing, and you got to be playing your instrument. We do it all raw. No metronome, no click tracks, no auto tune. So it's just it's like you really got to have stuff internalized to be able to
Mm-hmm.
do the stuff we're doing, and that comes from just playing for years, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of practice too, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah,
So you guys go out in the crowds, you work the crowds out there and all that.
yeah,
What's the craziest or funniest thing you guys have encountered? I mean, you get to watch it from the drums, right? So,
yeah.
but what have you seen happen when the guys are out in the crowds? Anything you can share?
Well, I'm trying to think. We have like, especially when we're doing the theaters. We do festivals, that's all ages, but the theaters typically older crowd, the boomer generation, the baby boom generation. So some of the ladies can get a little touchy feely on our singer, on our singer Richie.
Woo!
No, they're going in there. They're getting a little what's the word? Oh, I don't know. A little ambitious.
Frisky, a little,
Yeah,
little fr-
yeah, a little frisky. So I've
Hmm.
I've seen, I've seen him yeah, I've seen that. Nothing bad. It's all PG-13 stuff. Uh
Okay.
so there's definitely some of that, but I think people are mostly just shocked. Like I remember one time our guitar player Andy, he was doing a solo on the stage and he hopped down to the front row and the person wasn't looking and she just looked up. It was an older lady. I thought he was going to give her a heart attack because she was so startled. She didn't see this guy just right in front of her face. And that I remember seeing that. She was like trying to catch her breath. I'm like, oh my God, like we gotta be careful. But for the most part, people just love when we get into the crowd. It's just really bringing the show like right to them. Like, they might even get hit by a bead of sweat.
Have you
But
guys done? I know you do a lot of hits that everybody would know. Have you guys ever done any deep cuts? And if so, what has been the crowd reaction? Have been kind of surprised by that, or what?
I'm trying to think, Randy, because we used to do deep cuts back in the day when we were playing bars. Like back in the day, we'd be doing three sets. You know what I mean? Three sets of 45 minutes. So because these songs are like 2.5 minutes, we'd be playing like 60 songs in a night, 65 songs in a night.
Mm-hmm.
So we were doing a lot. We were digging deep. I'm trying to think what some of those deep cuts were, you know? I don't know. They were all hits to an extent. They were all hits to an extent. Hard to say. I mean, I'm a huge Beatles fan. So it's like we used to do we used to do some deep cuts that would clear the dance floor. And let me put it that way. One of them being the song "Misery" by the Beatles. That was a shameless song that we liked, but it would part the seas as we used to call it, you know. So we had to sadly we had to cut that one.
Wow.
Misery didn't make the cut. That was that was a fun one though. Trying to think. I don't know. We love all the songs.
Do you guys ever get hired as a, say as a corporate
Oh yeah.
type of thing where they want you to focus on a particular band or artist? Like say, hey, we want to have you come to our,
Yeah.
corporate sales meeting, and we want you to do, nothing but Herman's Hermits or something.
Yeah, oh, for sure. We've had that periodically, and it's been tough to do because we tell people, we're like, look, can we learn these new songs? Yes. But will it be the Dreamboats playing them? We're kind of like, no, because once again, it's like these are the songs we kind of do what we do. And these songs are really dialed in with all the moments and stuff. So people in the past, I remember we did this one show, a corporate event, and they wanted all surf songs. And we took it
Ah,
on. And it was like, to them, it was just like, I'll learn a couple songs. They might have been used to bands playing maybe with the iPad or something. But for us, it was like,
mm-hmm.
that was like 2 months of work learning all of these songs, all these Jan and Dean and like Surf City and like, the Surfaris and all this stuff because we had to internalize it so that we weren't
Mm-hmm.
reading off of notes. And that was a lot of work, for a one-off gig. So we learned a lesson there. It's kind of like when people hire us for that, we're like, look, you got to trust us. Let us do what we do. We're gonna put on a great show. If you want, we're not the right band for every event, but we're the perfect band for the right event. And that's been our motto moving forward. So we don't get spread too thin, you know.
Do you guys get a situation where, I mean, I'm sure your set list is pretty much set, and the but I'm sure there are, you know there's going to be some idiot yells Freebird, obviously,
Yeah.
but is there somebody where they is there a song you hear a lot from the crowd? Do such and such, and you guys go on stage one night and you're thinking, please don't ask us to do that song. We're tired of it or whatever.
Well, we used to get that a lot, Randy, in the bar days. You know what I mean? Now we're doing
Yeah.
theaters, so it's just pretty much after we do a song, there's a clap and cheers, and then it's silence. It's like, okay, well, what are they doing next? So we don't get too many people hooting and hollering from the crowd these days, but definitely back in the day, I can't even think we would get the weirdest requests. We are in a bar, full suits, doing rock and roll all night, and then someone will come up and be like, "Ah, do you guys do any Rush?" And I'm just kind of like, you see the suit? I'm like, I'm from Toronto, Mississauga. I love Rush, but like, it's not really what we do.
That's
So
right.
there's a lot of deflecting. Now, if someone said a song that we did do, we felt like we could pull off, we would do it. But for the most part, it was always just kind of like, oh, that's a great song, but we're gonna hear it. Maybe you'll like this one, and then we just kind of segue. But we've heard it all. We've heard it all, Randy.
Oh, I bet you have. I bet you
Yeah,
have. What
yeah.
do you think, from your perspective, what should people of the baby boomer generation know about the younger musicians, such as you guys, who are embracing our music that we grew up with, but you guys are taking the mantle and running? What should we know? I mean, I'm right there with you. I feel like we're tracking along the same line here. but there's going to be the casual listeners, the people that don't live, eat, and breathe this every day like you and I do. What would you say to them? Because there's going to be those, I'm sure, that say, "What would you possibly know about our music?"
Yeah.
You know.
Sure. I would say this to all of the baby boomers out there is right now there is a revival of this era that is happening. And you see it a lot online. You see it on TikTok, on Instagram. There are kids, I'm 39. There are kids out there, 21, 22, 23. They're dressing up like rockabilly. You got the guys with the hair and they're doing the pomade. You
Mm-hmm.
got girls. Girls will come to our shows sometimes dressed up. They've got their dresses. It's like very authentic. And yeah, sure, a baby boomer would be like, "Oh, what do you know about that?" But I think the charm is that there is a new generation that genuinely wants to discover not only just the music, but like the lifestyle, which is a weird thing, maybe for someone, because I think I'm like, oh, when I'm older, like let's say when I'm in my 80s, if someone's trying to like live like I did in like the turn of the millennium there in the 2000s, that might be weird. But at the same time, I think it's cool that this isn't dying out. Like it's timeless, and people like the idea of, especially Randy, I'm going to get deep here, but especially with like AI and all this new technology, I think it's cool that the younger generation is connecting with this era, this analog era, like
Mm-hmm.
genuinely going out. People are learning to dance and they're learning these dance steps. And especially out here in California, you have a lot of young dancers who are dancing, swing dancing, rock and roll dancing. You have people who are buying vintage cars. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
online, there's a lot of rockabilly influencers and bands that are doing doo-wop. There's bands out of East
Mm-hmm.
LA making music for like lowriders, cruising, like oldies music, recording analog. These are people under the age of 40 doing this. I think that's a cool thing. And I don't know if baby boomers know that this is happening right now. Like, it's cool to like this right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what I think is important to get across. There's a revival.
That's that's interesting too, because at the same time, when I don't live in the political realm as far as live, eat, and breathe. I'm all about music and entertainment that interest baby boomers. But when I do listen to political chatter, I've been told and I hear that there's this rebellion against the baby boomers, a resentment because of what we've done to the national budget, or we're
Sure.
breaking the country, whatever you name it, you know, and to be fair, there's a lot we got wrong. We made a lot of mistakes. We screwed a lot of things up, but you know, I don't think we deserve some of the backlash that is supposedly heading our way. But yet, on the other hand, when I hear you talk, I'm hearing, wow, there's this, at least the appreciation of what we generated back then. And I'm hoping that maybe there's a way we can bridge this. But you touched on something earlier in the conversation that I want to kind of focus in on a little bit in the time we have left. The, you focus on that era that is, I say, when it was innocent. Sure, there was stuff going on back
Yeah,
then. We had, there was promiscuity then, there was racism, all that.
sure.
But there was an innocence that I think a lot of people enjoyed then. They didn't know. I mean, we had 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds back then that don't know a lot of the facts of life that fifth graders know today,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. And, of course, by the mid 60s, we had the Vietnam War and, Kennedy assassination, all those things that destroyed innocence and faith and began the crumbling of the faith of in our institutions. How much of that do you think it will is going to be missing from those that are pursuing this music and everything that it represents? I guess I'm asking, do you think there's a way we could get that genie back in the bottle in the younger generations? Because we sure as heck haven't been able to do it as baby boomers.
it's tough. I mean, for baby boomers, you guys went through, like I said, my dad was born 1950, my mom was born 1953. They're right in there, So it's like growing up, it's just, yeah, your generations or the baby boomer generation went through a lot. And as a result, that got reflected in the music and art and culture. And I think right now, it's like I know all of this stuff is happening in the world, but it's relatively easy. I don't know, the struggles are different for people now. It's very online. It's hard to experience that analog kind of struggle these days. Also, to address your point, like I know what you mean, people. There was a minute there where, the youth were against baby boomers, and I would hear that. I'm like, it's just such an excuse. They're looking to point the finger. I'm like, there's so many opportunities now that people in 50 years would be like, oh, why didn't I do that? There's always
Hmm.
opportunities. Just the times change, and things happen. It's like if you started a band in the 50s, there weren't many rock and roll bands in the 50s. It was just
That's
like
right.
you would stand out. But now it's oversaturated like anything else. Everyone and their uncle has a band. So you got to compete with more people, but it's not the boomers' fault. It's like just is what it is, You guys started something great. It exploded and like continued to grow, and people are just upset that it's oversaturated. And it's like, that's too bad. That's the way it goes.
Yep.
But I don't know. I think it's hard for people to find that true struggle. And I think when people do find their struggle, they think, "Oh, I got to medicate or do something." Whereas in the baby boomer generation, it was more like, "Nah, we get it out in music. We get it out in art. We get it out in rebellion. We get it out." It was a little different. It was, you were
Agreed.
dealing with things in a different way, and now people think every problem is a problem, where back in the day, I feel like it was channeled into something a little different. I might be wrong in that because I did not grow up in that, but that's what it
Right.
seems like.
No, I think you're
That's
right, and I think too we had a lot less information to act on. Today we've got way too much information to act on.
yeah,
And we can have there. I used to be in the precious metals business many moons ago, and we had a broker there. We were doing some sales training, and he had a phrase that I never forgot. He called para-analysis. That's paralysis by over-analysis. And I think a lot of times people just kind of either they lock into a trench of thinking because they don't have the time or effort or energy to think outside of that trench to get more information, make the decision on. But back in my day, I was there was a lot less for us to be able to latch onto to make a decision. There was still a lot of growth ahead of us. Not everybody went to college. Now we're starting to see that cycle come back to where a lot of people aren't going to college because they
yeah,
don't see the return on investment, that kind of thing. So
sure.
it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out as we die off. I mean, I think there's only 75% of us alive right now that were born in that generation, and
Sure.
we're dying off daily. The bands are dying off, as we said earlier. Go ahead.
But I will say, Randy, I will say, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on this podcast. I feel like the baby boomer, like when I was growing up, my grandparents, like my grandfather was born in 1920. Like I look at pictures of him when he was 60 and he looked old. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He looked old. And now, like my dad, like my mom and dad are in their 70s, and I'm like, they're looking good. They're moving well. Like it's the age isn't what it used to be. And I really look to the baby boomer generation. And I'm like, oh, things should be getting better. Like I feel like 80 is almost the new 70. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people in their 80s who are like performing and performing well, like and still
Yep.
command. And it's like with social media, with online stuff, I feel like age isn't even a thing anymore. Like you can have a successful podcast at any age. You can now
That's
find
right.
your market. You don't have to worry about gatekeepers and getting a TV show. It's like, hey, you just start your own YouTube channel and connect with the people who want to connect with a baby boomer or connect with a millennial or a Gen Z or whatever it is. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Mm-hmm.
like we were in the best time to be alive. I know it's cliche to say, but I truly feel like there's a lot of opportunities here for everyone, and no one needs to get left behind. And as your generation gets older, it's just like I feel like we're getting more connected, more interconnected. I could chat with you digitally. It's like I'm excited. I'm
Yep.
excited for it all.
I am too.
True.
I am too.
That's great to hear because not a lot of people are like you in any age demographic. A lot of people are
Hmm.
afraid, and I'm like, no, I'm excited. I'm very excited for where things are headed. You know, yeah.
And you're doing it with our music. That's what excites me.
Which is weird, yeah, which is weird because I'm doing it with an old genre of music. Yet I'm excited about technology. So I think
Yeah,
that's why it works. We're
I agree.
finding ways to connect.
I agree. So if somebody wants to book the Dreamboats or they want to follow your itinerary, what's the best way of doing that?
So they can go to www.thedreamboatsband.com. And then we have our
Okay.
whole show listing. And the thing is, people are like, when are you going on tour? I'm like, we're always on tour. We're always playing. It never ends. So chances are we'll be coming to a town near you very soon. And yeah, if we always say this at our shows, if you dig this music, if you're into 50s and 60s stuff, doesn't matter what age you are, we need to connect with you. So if someone's listening out there, we need to connect with you because we are trying to keep this music alive. It is our mission, it's our MO. So we want those people to follow our band, come to our shows. We want to connect with them face to face after the show and be a part of the Dreamboats family, and
Hmm.
join
Hmm.
us in keeping this music alive.
Well, I'll put that link on the website, and they'll hear it here, and hopefully, they'll come to your shows, and hopefully, you'll be down in my neck of the woods somewhere, so I can
Yes.
come backstage and say hey to you before the before you wear yourself out and drench yourselves and your clothes in sweat. So,
Anytime, Randy. You drop us a line and we'll get you on the guest list. Bring the fan or whoever would love to see you at a show. I think you'd really
I'll
like it.
definitely. I know I would, and I'll keep an eye on your website and your itinerary, and rest assured we will meet someday. So,
I hope
but
so.
well, my friend Johnny, this my door is always open to you.
Thank you.
Make sure you let me know if there's anything special you guys got going on, and I'll do my part to help get the word out.
Great. I appreciate it, Randy, and thank you so much. And I just want to say I respect your podcast. I have a little music business podcast of my own. I know the amount of work it takes to do these things and to keep consistent and to get guests and to keep it engaging. So just much respect on all of this. I wish you all the best. And yes, I hope we can see each other in some capacity soon.
Well, thank you for that. People think it's easy, and I guess
Oh,
I should be complimented by that because it is a lot of work, and it's
it is.
not all what you know. You can't look at the numbers. You got to
No.
do it because you love what you're doing. So,
Yes,
hey, if I can be of any help for you on your work on that part of it, let me know.
I
And
will.
Heidi knows how you can reach me, and we can communicate that way.
Great. Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Johnny. Take care and be safe out there.
Okay, you as well. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
This has been another fun filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song for Boomerocity is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quentin Hope. Quentin is spelled Quinten, and Hope is HOP as in Paul E. And you can find out more about Quentin Hope and his music at quintenhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2026.